All right, so we will sit for a little bit here. And it's going to be a little bit of a different sit today, too. We're going to explore the mind as this garden kind of theme. So just roll with me. So just finding a way to sit that feels comfortable, upright if that's possible, but relaxed. Closing the eyes if that feels good, or just resting your gaze on the floor in front of us. And letting the body take a few of those longer, slower, deeper breaths just to arrive, land, and settle. Just starting to notice the simple sensations, the contact with the chair or the seat, just the weight of the body, the hands resting, and that natural rhythm of the breath. So letting go of any control over the breath and allowing the body to breathe all on its own. The mind always wants something to do, so we're just saying, here's your task. Just watch this inhale, exhale, just like riding the waves of the ocean. And we're just allowing the thinking mind to fall to the background and setting the intention for this 15 minutes. Just take off any pressure that the mind may be bringing in. And rather than the to-do mind, we're tuning into this quality of awareness, mindfulness. So we're checking in, just like a gardener checking in with the garden. Noticing the thoughts that arise and pass. Maybe an emotional tone that can arise and pass. And the sensations in the body. For this meditation, this is the garden we're tending to. You don't judge the garden, don't need to change anything right now, just seeing clearly what's here. And if something is calling your attention, and just turning towards it with this quality of curiosity, the same way you would tune into a garden. What is it, and what does it need? The mind and the emotional body really loves that quality of checking in. What's here? What does it need? Not falling into overthinking, but just sensing and allowing. And then seeing what's here, responding from the heart. If the mind is restless, maybe there's some softening in the body, slowing the breath a little bit. And if the mind's maybe feeling dull or on the other end of the spectrum, inviting some energy into the breath, maybe sitting a little bit more upright. Whenever the mind feels scattered, just returning again and again. Not forcing anything, just attuning the conditions. So the mind could settle. And settling into the anchor of the breath, the body, maybe the quality of the heart. Letting the mind rest in this rhythm. Just like putting your hands into the soil. Letting the mind suffuse into the breath in the body. What is it like to imagine your experience of the mind, the heart, and the body as a garden? Soil, the sun, plants, roots, water, all these elements. Similarly, in the garden, are present in the body, coming together to create this experience of meditation. So if there is any sense of ease or calm, or even maybe a little lightness of mind, just allowing it to be here. Without needing to create anything, but just noticing any lightness or joy that arises from the simplicity of the practice. And taking that in the same way plants take in the sun. Nourishing. Starting to notice as the mind starts to settle, this quality of awareness, or you could maybe say consciousness, simple knowing, through which all the thoughts come and go, all the feelings come and go. There's this steadiness to awareness. Just like the earth holding the garden. Steady, grounded, and open. The earth can take in the water, take in the sun, hold the roots of the plants. And in the same way, this open quality of awareness can allow what's pleasant, what's unpleasant to come and go and rest in a quality of balance. So spending these next few minutes in silence, and allowing the mind, the body, the heart to be steady like the earth. As we come near the close of this meditation, it's a traditional Buddhist practice of sharing the merit. In the same way, we may share the bounty of the garden, the harvest, with others. May the fruits of this meditation be shared with our fellow living beings, those big and small, those near and far away, those yet to be born. May the goodness of this practice contribute to the sanity, the welfare, in the freedom of all living beings everywhere. May all beings be free. So as always, just noticing that quality of mind after your sit, whatever it is, right? And noticing the momentum of mindfulness, of awareness as we move into some sharing and thoughts and discussion. So one of the main words that the Buddha used to describe meditation is the word bhavana, which means cultivation. And so the Buddha used this gardening cultivation metaphor in the sense that the practice isn't about forcing, but it's about growing and tending. Buddha also taught to an agrarian culture 2,600 years ago, so the metaphors were kind of born of the time and the area where he taught. I always really liked that idea, though, and that word cultivation. I know these days it refers more to like cannabis culture, but yeah, the idea being you can't force a garden to grow, but you create the conditions. There's a sutta called the Bija Sutta, the Seed Sutta, where the Buddha said that if a seed is planted in fertile soil and receives water and nourishment, it'll naturally grow. So wise effort isn't about pushing harder, it's about creating the conditions. It's kind of been a big theme over these last few weeks. Ajahn Chah, one of the great Thai forest masters, one of the students came to him at one point and was like, it seems like you tell everyone something different to do. You know, you tell this person to practice concentration, you tell this person to practice insight, you tell this person to do sitting, this person to do walking meditation. And his response was, if I see someone walking to the left off of the path, I tell them to go to the right. If they're walking to the right off of the path, I tell them to go to the left. So it's this quality of attunement and effort that's constantly kind of adjusting and attuning that really resonates well with gardening. So that's what I want to explore tonight, effort as attunement, or tending a garden through the 7 awakening factors. And I didn't want to give just another talk on the 7 awakening factors because I've probably given 4, so I was trying to think of how to make this feel a little different. And they are mindfulness, investigation or curiosity, concentration, energy, calm, joy, and equanimity. And so I want to reflect on how these can maybe relate to gardening and also how they balance each other out. And so we'll start with mindfulness. If you have a garden or if you know anyone who's gardened, part of that process is checking in every day, right? Mindfulness, one of the definitions is paying attention on purpose in the present moment without judgment. And so anyone, if you're walking or you're checking into the garden, right, it's noticing the soil, noticing the weeds, noticing the growth, not fixing, not judging, but just seeing clearly. You don't get mad at the weeds. I don't know, maybe some people get mad at the weeds. And similarly with the mind, right? It requires, right, calls for tending, to pay attention to what's happening, to be aware of it without reactivity, whether it's thinking, whether it's a strong emotion. This is a foundational skill in meditation. This is a simple awareness. Without mindfulness, the garden can become overgrown or become messy. And the mind without mindfulness can become filled with rumination or reactivity, whatever your personal favorite is. The next two qualities, investigation and concentration, pair really well together. Dhammavichaya is that curiosity or investigation, and samadhi is that quality of absorption, when the mind really lands and settles into the breath and the body. So investigation, this is, if we're talking about gardening, it gets back to that question, what is this and what does it need, right? Whether it's the soil, it's the water, are there bugs, what does it need, right? This is digging a little bit deeper. And the same thing in the mind, right? Starting to notice patterns, starting to be curious about not just what's happening, why is it happening? Starting to understand maybe past conditioning. I know myself as a youngest of 4, constant external validation central to my upbringing, always needing, look at me, look at me, trying to get that attention. And I notice ways that shows up in adult, kind of disguised as adult-like behaviors, but I can recognize that same behavior of just wanting to be noticed. So this is really a big part of a lot of modern psychology. Internal family systems talks about curiosity. CBT talks about cognitive flexibility, right? But it all comes back to examining the mind. And then concentration on the other side of that, I think, balances it really well. Full engagement, sustained attention. And this is like, if we're talking about gardening, getting immersed in the task. Whether it's planting or watering. I always loved the watering. Standing there, the hose, very Zen-like. And then with the mind, becoming absorbed in the breath or qualities of loving kindness, presence, whatever that is, it almost has a quality of absorption or immersion to it. And so these two kind of balance each other out. Investigation, the exploring, the curiosity, and then the concentration, the settling. And so sometimes it's about knowing when to ask questions and sometimes knowing when to let it go. There's a time for both. I know for myself, there are times when I just have to set the question down. And the concentration is actually really, really helpful because I can come back to what I was looking at with fresh eyes. So the next two, energy and calm, clear kind of balance between the two of those. So energy, virya is the Pali word, is like the motivation, the kind of inspiration for the action. For the garden, this is, okay, I need to get out there. And I think, I was thinking about it in gardening, sometimes it's seeing the work that needs to be done. Like, okay, the weeds are getting overgrown, or I haven't been out there in days to water, right? So there's that motivation to get out there. And in mindfulness or meditation, it's that desire to turn towards the practice. And for me, this often arises from dukkha, from suffering, right? From suffering about something. Often the motivation for me is like, I know I need to lean into my practice because it's the one thing that's been really reliable for me. Or if I see the futility of some of my patterns of escaping, whether it's busyness or checking out, I get this feeling of like wanting to be back on that cushion, wanting to be checked in rather than checked out. And then sometimes I think it just comes from a genuine desire to be free, to have a healthy mind. So again, these two balance. Oh, sorry, I skipped the other side of that. Calm. The letting go, the allowing part of this. And this is the stepping back in the gardening, right? And kind of letting the process take its do its thing, letting the soil absorb, not overdoing it. That's another thing that can happen in gardening, and letting nature do its work. And in meditation, this is the relaxing the body, calming the mind, the settling, the kind of effortless quality of effort, which we do every time we sit here. Rainer Maria says, try to learn to let what is simply be. So this is big for the nervous system. I think craves this calm to be able to reset at times. So again, the balance here, the energy, the doing, the motivation, and then the calm, the allowing, the stepping back. Meditation teachers often say, create the conditions and then let the nature work. Trust in the process. So the last two factors are joy and equanimity. And joy, I was trying to reflect on what this would be, and what came to mind for me is the sun, the quality of the sunlight in the garden, right? It's not forced. It arises naturally. And the plants kind of incline towards that sun, and they flourish under it. And in the same way, the mind naturally turns towards that joy, that simple happiness in meditation, and flourishes under that quality of joy. This is the joy of release, of the mind feeling free. And then equanimity, this kind of balance, this openness, this kind of poise of the mind, can be like the soil or the earth. There's this stability, right? And the groundedness, putting the hands in the dirt. In the garden, the soil holds the roots, holds the water, can take the sun. And it really is the foundation for all of the growth, the process of growth. And in the same way, equanimity keeps the mind steady through all of the worldly winds, which we've talked about, the praise, blame, gain and loss, the ups and downs, the inevitable, roller coaster of life. The equanimity helps the mind stay balanced through that process. Psychology, they often use words like resilience or acceptance. And so the balance here is the joy being the quality of uplift and the equanimity being the steadiness. Joy without equanimity can be kind of grasping for that pleasantness. And then equanimity without joy can just feel kind of flat. So in the same way, the soil, sun provide balance in the garden. So when a garden is tended with care, not forced, not neglected, it bears fruit. Or vegetables, or flowers, or whatever it is you're growing, right? When there's that care put into the whole process, there's time to harvest. Or even if it's not something harvested, the plant comes to fruition. And in the same way, a mind that's cultivated with mindfulness, curiosity, effort, calm, joy, and balance moves the mind, inclines the mind towards freedom or nibbana. So liberation isn't forced, but again, it grows from the conditions that we set forth in meditation. So in this practice, we're continually caring for the healthy conditions of the mind and of the garden. So a good question to ask on a regular basis, what does the mind need today? Or what does the mind need right now? Sometimes it needs action, sometimes it means waiting or trust or pause. So these 7 factors of awakening, we can really simplify it to that question in a way. What is needed? Is it energy? Is it calm? Curiosity, concentration? The Buddha's teachings on wise effort aren't about, it's not the effort of controlling the mind. It's just really about learning how to care for it in a balanced way. I want to close with a simple quote by Lao Tzu. Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished.